So, welcome everybody to our virtual Career Tuesday, November 7th. We are excited that we're already deep into November. I'm sure all the students that are on here right now are busy with midterms and trying to keep up with all your projects. So, we appreciate you joining us. We're happy to say that, as always, we will be hosting this on our YouTube channel. So we will be able to reference this later for those students that will not be able to join us. But for the students who are on, I want to encourage you to either raise your hand to ask questions or you can use the chat feature. But it's my pleasure to introduce James Relic. James is the regional sales leader at the Hershey Company. It's very hard to say Hershey without starting to drool a little bit, thinking about the candy and all of the sweetness around that. But I think it's important for students to also recognize the community work that Hershey does. I mean, 8 billion in annual revenue, obviously the iconic candies and the leading snacks that they do, but the Milton Hershey, who set up, 125 years ago, who set up an organization for the Milton Hershey School and has been helping children ever since then, all the way from kindergarten through college. I think that's an amazing recognition of who their employees were then, and the companies continue to show that importance for their employees. So, James, I am going to ask if you would introduce us a little bit on Hershey, and then we can jump into some of the roles, the sales roles.
Absolutely. So yeah, excited to be here with all of you today. Like she said, I'm James Relic, so I'm our regional sales leader for our New England team. So my team and I, we basically cover the northern New England area, so northern Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. I've been with the Hershey Company about 5 years, and I really love that you included as well the call out to the Milton Hershey School. I know that that's something that some people aren't always aware of, but it's really incredible to be a part of an organization that is rooted in those values and to see the impact that it has on those many children, again, all the way through high school and their college years. So I am from our sales team. I'm here today as part of our recruitment efforts for our kind of entry level sales role into the organization. It's a role that we really pride ourselves on as being an integral part of the culture that we're building with the Hershey Company. It's a great role in the sense that over 75% of our senior leaders actually started out in this very role. So again, as we kind of talk about building that culture, it's really an interesting and probably unique aspect, maybe from some other larger companies, to have a role like this where so many people can share that common background and really have a chance to not just learn the industry and the brands and the company, but get their foot in the door and really open up their future career growth into loads of different experiences that you can certainly explore within the company as you progress with Hershey.
You started in that role yourself.
I did, yes. I started as a territory sales lead. It was called a retail sales rep back then, but I started right out of college. I was recruited from school, just like we're doing here from the University of South Carolina, and started out down in Columbus, Georgia. So I've certainly traveled a long way since then.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we talked a little bit before we started recording, James, about the fact that when you were in college, you studied abroad. And if you could just talk for a minute or two about how students who are thinking of studying abroad can translate that skill into a sales role.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think as we look at the sort of experiences outside of the classroom in a college environment that you can have that really push you outside of your comfort zone, and that can look like a lot of different things. Maybe it's a part-time job that's working in a restaurant or in a hospitality industry, or maybe it's an organization on campus. But another one that we commonly see though is those study abroad experiences. I was sharing that I had studied abroad. That was my first time leaving the country. I joined a program where I didn't know anybody, and just going to a whole new country, learning the culture, meeting new people there, but also meeting fellow students. Really helped, I think, develop some of those soft skills that are so helpful, particularly in a role in sales.
Mhm. Right. One of the qualifications that's listed is critical thinking, and certainly studying abroad is an area where critical thinking skills are incredibly important. Would you talk to us a little bit about when the interview process starts? What's that process look like?
Yeah, so the interview process is kind of almost like I'd almost like liken it to like almost like a rolling admissions process for when you're applying to college, right? It's not necessarily that it ends at any specific point. We're recruiting for people for December graduates as well as for May graduates, or even later on in the summer if that's a possibility too. But basically, throughout this time, we're recruiting at campuses, doing events like this, and through there, looking to meet students that are interested. And from there, the interview process would look like a kind of traditional virtual interview where we would be going through SOAR format questions, seeking to understand more about your experiences and whether or not it would be a good fit for you to join Hershey and to join in the territory sales lead role.
Mhm.
But from that interview, our second round is something that I really appreciate because it's a field interview where you'd actually be going out into the area with a local TSL for a couple hours and getting to spend that time with them, really seeing hands-on exactly what that role would look like after college, which I think is kind of unique as well, and kind of helps answer a lot of questions on whether or not this is the right fit for you, but whether or not it's also the right fit for us too.
And can you talk about that a little bit, right? So the understanding that this is not a 9 to 5 in an office, you just call people on the phone. When you say like the ride-alongs, so it's going to convenience stores, small, like almost like working with small businesses, correct?
So we have two different sales associate roles. So we have our territory sales associate, which is actually a part-time role where that team does cover convenience channel and kind of maybe some of those smaller independent businesses. But in the territory sales lead role, that would actually be working with our customers really across the mass and food classes of trade. So what that would normally look like would vary, depending on the geography and where you are in that territory sales lead role. For us here in New England, it would likely be calling on the Walmart's accounts as well as the local food. So thinking your Hannaford, Stop and Shop, Market Basket, etc.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And so when you travel along on this interview, is the thought process that as the interviewee walks into the meetings, joins in on those meetings, they're really starting to understand what that type of relationship model looks like?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what the day to day looks like for the territory sales lead. It's not in an office environment. We kind of liken it to almost that your company car is like your office in the sense that you're a traveling salesperson. So
Mhm.
you'd have an established route of these accounts where you would be visiting them, seeking to build relationships at the store level, selling in product and space, making sure that we have the executional strategies in place to be able to maximize the sales and the sell through for our products. So this would allow an opportunity to see hands-on what that looks like when having those conversations in store. What are the things that we're looking for that we can drive action in? And then kind of what some of those merchandising tactics look like as well that we try to employ again to maximize those sales.
Okay. And so that's part of the interview, right? So so how is the candidate sort of, I'm not going to say graded, but how do they advance after they do the ride along?
Yeah, the ride along is traditionally one where, we're looking for people that are going to be engaged with the process, asking lots of questions, seeking to, see how this might fit in with their future career. So again, we've kind of by this point already had that first initial interview where we've done a little bit more of understanding the candidate's background and experiences. And this one is more so to make sure that this is really going to be a good fit for both parties.
Okay. So as you said, like the first interview has like the behavioral questions. Do you do any kind of case study during the first interview? Do they have to kind of pitch a sales or anything like that?
No, but I mean, that would be a great idea, wouldn't it? Yeah, the first interview really is largely around understanding the candidate's background. So it would be exploring the resume, the sort of experiences that they have, whether it be academic or again outside of the classroom, whether it be jobs, internships, study abroad, any sort of extracurriculars, and then we would move into those SOAR format behavioral interview questions.
Okay. Um, Tell me what you see as experiences that students, somebody who, entry level career, what kind of experiences really add value to the role here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's a great question. As part of being this sort of traveling salesperson role, right? Looking for people that are going to show a lot of initiative, and a lot of leadership too. This is what we're trying to really have people experience and develop within this entry level role, become leaders on our team, and ultimately, master the fundamentals and then move on into other roles within the organization. So what stands out to me is like those kind of experiences that demonstrate that, whether it be maybe a leadership role within a club or a fraternity, sorority, something like that on campus. Always, I think the hospitality industry has a lot of very transferable skills, especially as we talk about some of those soft skills that are very applicable to sales. So thinking, working in bars and restaurants and hotels, etc. And then again, things that are going to push you outside of your comfort zone. So for a lot of people, that might look like a study abroad experience.
Okay. And I believe looking at the job descriptions, it's not major specific, but there are some specifics to location, like geographic location.
For the TSL role.
Right. It looks like either the internship or the full-time role that there's certain geographic areas, Philadelphia, State College, Boston.
Yeah, so the territory sales lead role is really great in the sense that we have pretty much these roles all across the country. And so basically the way that this works, so say you go throughout the process and you go through the a couple rounds of interviews and we decide to make an offer and you would say that you're graduating in the summer. So around that March to April timeframe is when our talent acquisition team would reach out because at this point you have a contingent offer. So you've been offered a role, but of course you're not graduating until maybe 6 or 8 months down the line. So we're not exactly sure what specific territories will be open and available for you to join.
Okay.
But as we get closer to that time, they'll reach out and they'll say, what are your top geographic, preferences? And you might, if you were looking to stay in New England, perhaps you'd say, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and we would attempt to one of those open or anticipating to be open positions upon your graduation.
Mhm.
But again, we have these roles all across the country. So if you're like, I'm really open to anywhere in the Northeast or the Southeast or even going out west, you could put any of those preferences as well. So if you're looking to travel the country, see new places, experience new things, certainly a role that you could very much do so in.
Okay. And from a student point of view, so that's exciting, right? They get that contingent offer. This is November. They're looking at the offer, at the beginning of the year. There is some anxiety not knowing, right?
Hmm.
When you get that, when you get closer to graduation of what your options are. So it's wonderful to know that there are options all across the country, right? What kind of training do you do? So if a student says, okay, I'm willing to take a job, happy to take it out on the West Coast, is there specific training that they do before they go out to the West Coast, like a cohort training, or do they go directly to their location?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Um, we wouldn't really do any training until you actually begin your first official start date. So by that point you would be moved out there. But we do have very comprehensive training once you begin that time. So, what that would likely look like is spending, quite a few weeks directly with your regional sales leader. So someone like myself, but perhaps in, one of our other regions or teams across the country. You'd be able to spend time in the office, learning all about the industry, our brands, understanding the resources that we have available in terms of the data and the business, understanding the technology that we use while we're out in the field. And then we'd be spending time together in stores, making sure that you feel very comfortable with sort of the proposed call procedure and knowing how to tackle the priorities in store, building those relationships.
Mhm.
You'd have opportunity to spend time with your peers, so basically your other TSLs within your own team. And then once you're in, normally we like it when people are about 1 to 3 months in role. We do have an onboarding cohort, so the onboarding cohorts would be area based. So here in New England, we're part of the Northeast area for our retail team. And so traditionally, again, about 1 to 3 months in role, all the folks that have been enrolled for about that time from all the different regions within the Northeast would then participate in a cohort together in Hershey or another somewhat central location for maybe another area within the organization. So, again, allowing you time to meet fellow new people and again, go through a lot of more training and education.
Okay. And so you've progressed in different roles. So you started as the territory sales lead, associate regional sales leader. So it sounds like, that's an opportunity for students. Like you said, 75% of the people start in the main role. So it sounds like the company is giving opportunities once you've been there for a while and you've seen the success that you're able to move into different roles.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're really about developing talent internally, and we really encourage people to get the breadth and depth of experiences as well. So, for me, that was the path I did from the TSL role. I went into that associate regional sales leader role, which is kind of that entry level people management role, where I was gaining experience calling on some smaller accounts like chains of convenience stores, but also managing our part-time team. But some people don't go into that role. Some people might pursue opportunities within category management or maybe more of a sales desk-to-desk selling role, like an account management type role. But it's certainly not exclusive to that. There's plenty of people that also might pursue marketing or finance or supply chain from that point as well.
Okay. Um, just a reminder to students, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hands or put them in chat. I'm really interested in how the company keeps that sense of joy, right? So you're kind of focused in an area that like brings joy, but with everybody in their own areas, how do you keep people engaged with each other?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, I think what's special about especially our retail team is again, this is the first role that for many people they'll have with the Hershey company, and it's very much a team-oriented atmosphere, a lot of camaraderie. Like we said, our retail team's broken out into different regions. So we have over 50 different regions across the country, and I'm the New England one, so I lead our New England team, and our team we have regular meetings with just our team that really helps build a sense of culture and camaraderie amongst us. But then you also have those other opportunities to connect with people outside of your region, whether virtually through some of those opportunities that we have available or through things like our onboarding cohort or other sort of leadership and developmental programs that we have maybe later on within that TSL role. So there's a lot of opportunity to form a really strong network of people across the company very early on in your career. And I really think it's very interesting too that in some of those programs that we have, again, once you've kind of gotten a little bit more experience within the TSL role, allow you some opportunity to meet and network and ask questions of some very senior leaders within the organization too, which I think it's a really cool experience and really helps foster a great culture with the Hershey company.
Ah, I love that.
Mhm.
So, Kristen, did you want to ask your question?
Yes. So I was kind of wondering if you could tell me a bit about like your personal growth in the company. I think it's always interesting to ask about personal experiences. So
Yeah, definitely. For me, I was again, I've loved our retail team. I've loved being a part of it. When I was in high school and college, I always really gravitated towards, those different sort of team or organizations, right? Like I was involved with a technology club that I wanted to be the president of. I was in sports. I was in a fraternity. I was in student government. And so being in those roles with a lot of interaction in a team-based environment, being able to lead and manage people was something that I really enjoyed. And I think the TSL role was critical in kind of how I wanted to navigate those next couple roles. The regional sales leader that I had as a TSL made a world of impact upon me, which is another side point, I guess, that I've had some really incredible leaders during my time with Hershey. And so I think for me, it was a really cool experience and an opportunity for me to, develop my own leadership style, but then kind of pay it forward for that next generation of TSLs coming into the company and help make sure that they had the same sort of experience that I did, that I think played a very special role in how much I love this organization, and helped me really start off on a strong foot as far as my career growth goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just a couple more questions, James, because I love the fact that you went straight from your undergrad program into to Hershey.
Mhm.
When you applied, did you do did you do a cover letter?
I did not do a cover letter. No, I didn't do a cover letter when I applied actually. So I had known a friend, like I had mentioned, I was in a fraternity, and so there was actually a guy a couple years older than me that I had known. He had joined Hershey as a TSL right out of college. And he had actually already been promoted by that point too into that associate regional sales leader role. And so I kind of had Hershey in the back of my mind when I was exploring it at the career fair. And really, I think what sold me on the company was honestly just my interaction with the regional manager that hired me there. A guy with our company that's been here over 35 years. He ended up being a manager for myself in my, I guess, most recent role before this one. So he recruited me initially, and then somehow our paths crossed again, where I ended up, working for him. But just the way he spoke about the organization, understanding his experiences with the company, and then also getting that hands-on experience of actually then going on my field interview, was what I think really sold me on the company. But yeah, I guess that was a very long way to answer. No, I didn't write a cover letter.
But it's the same kind of thing, right? It was that networking, right? You met somebody, you knew somebody that worked there, and you were intrigued by the company that way. So we do
Yes.
have a question from Shannon Turner. Shannon, I'm happy to read the question for you. I would also love to tell James what your major is. So her question is, what's one of the most important things on a resume Hershey looks for? But Shannon, if you want to just pop either into the chat, or you can even say it yourself. Love to know what your major is. So sorry, I should have asked that a different way. So if you if you want to answer the question, James, about the most important things on a
Okay,
resume, then
I
we'll
gotcha.
give
Yep.
Shannon the opportunity to pop her major in there if she wants.
No, no worries. Yeah. When I think of the most important, again, there's the things, I'm really interested in learning, what are the things that this student is interested in pursuing, kind of long term in career. So kind of understanding where their mindset is there and how the experiences that they've gone and acquired throughout their time, whether it be again in the classroom through academic opportunities or whether they be extracurricular. So I think all those things that really stand out and give me a sense of, what's the goal in mind here? And, is this person have a lot of ambition to go and achieve those goals, and how they kind of push themselves, whether it be, again, academically, or like we've said, kind of putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. I think those are all really useful experiences that help challenge you personally, and will prepare you to excel not just in a territory sales lead, but but I think probably within any role, especially in business, that you're looking to start out in.
Well, Shannon just added what her major is, and I think it's right in line with what you were just saying, James, because well, hang on, it just disappeared for a second here. So she is a history major, thinking about double majoring in business administration. So talk about ambition. So
Yeah.
and you can speak, I think you spoke to that earlier about it's not major specific for this role.
No, no, yeah, it's not. Of course, we often are recruiting mostly maybe at business schools or recruiting a lot for business majors, but certainly not exclusive to that.
Mhm.
Looking for people that are obviously, of course, interested and pursuing a sales role in that sense. But there's been plenty of people that we've had within the organization that have started out and something outside of the business. Type major. Certainly I started myself as a mechanical engineering major. First off in college, I did end up getting business degrees and, decided that that wasn't entirely for me, but, really just interested in anyone that is, again, looking to pursue a sales role and open to those, different opportunities that we have available.
Wonderful. I just put your LinkedIn profile in the chat, James. Is that the way that if a student wants to learn more about Hershey, that they should reach out through LinkedIn or perhaps another way?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely, I think if you're interested in pursuing sales, reach out to me via LinkedIn. If maybe after all this, sales isn't exactly for you, there might be some other opportunities available. So would love to also, of course, plug our website. So if you just Google Hershey Careers, you can maybe find some of those other opportunities. That might be available outside of sales. And I believe you can also connect with a recruiter that could probably tell you a little bit more about some of those other opportunities because of course I am a sales manager. I really only know the sales roles, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'd love to speak with you if you're interested in the territory sales lead role. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn, that would be great.
Okay. So I'm speaking right now to the students that are watching this at a later period of time. Handshake has Hershey jobs listed on there, posted on there. You can find, if you can't see the chat on that part of it. So it's James Relick, Relick. And James, I appreciate everything, all of the time that you have spent with us on this Tuesday afternoon as you're traveling for business, which
Yep.
falls right in the role that you're doing. But unless anybody has any other questions, I just want to thank you very much for your time and invite you back to campus anytime.
Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to get back there. So, and I appreciate you all having me and for your questions as well. So, I hope you enjoyed and hopefully learned a little bit more about Hershey.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you, James.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to stop recording now.